Recently, fast fashion has been one of the hottest topics in fashion, as more and more individuals understand the detrimental effects of overproduction due to fast fashion. It's only natural that the finger get pointed at somebody or anybody promoting that industry. This has resulted in some heated conversations online, to say the least, and it's worth examining. So with that being said, what's up everybody, it's your boy Reggie Casual and welcome to WTH F'd Up Edition, where we unpack the data, info, and details to discuss some of the most pressing topics, brands, designers, etc. surrounding the world of fashion. Today is how fast fashion F'd up fashion influencers, and this is the intro. All right, so we gotta start with the data, please. According to earth.org, within the last 10 years, clothing production has doubled and garment usage lifetime has decreased. The fashion industry produces more CO2 emissions than aviation and shipping combined. More than $500 billion are lost every year due to the lack of recycling and clothing utilization. 20% of global wastewater comes from textile dyeing, that's another one, and finally, we discard about 92 million tons of clothes-related waste each year. And that's just a snapshot. That's just a little bit of data, but keep in mind, this is all of fashion, not just fast fashion, so. Now, this data is problematic to be sure, and definitely signals that something needs to be done about the scourge of waste due to fast fashion. But the data only tells half the story. In fact, consumers themselves are a part of that equation. Fast trends and turnover has been a huge factor as societal pressures of being fashion forward are now front and center in this age of social media, soon to be the metaverse. And the irony of this is that the one community that is the most vocal about the detrimental effects of fast fashion to the environment are also the most likely to buy fast fashion. That would be Gen Z. Sorry, that's just the truth. All right, so let's take a look at this. According to Google, the top 4 trending fashion brands among US Gen Z consumers at the start of September were all companies built in the Chinese fast fashion sellers mold. That's Edikted, Cider, Verge Girl, and Edikted. And the generation gap kind of tells the story of why that is. As Tahita Hairston, fashion and beauty director at Teen Vogue, states, Gen Z has largely connected with fashion in a different way to its generational predecessors. While older millennials were exposed to aspirational brands and products through print magazine ads, today's crop of young consumers sees them worn by influencers in fleeting content designed for a cursory scroll on Instagram. It's a model built to drive consumers toward impulse purchases and an endless cycle of disposable outfits, end quote. And this has naturally led to a bit of pass the buckism among many admittedly armchair activists within Gen Z, as many are holding fashion influencers more accountable than ever before for the promotion of fast fashion. Now let's not get this twisted. Let's go ahead and rewind it a little bit. There are many Gen Z activists out there and many do great work, so I don't want to lessen that. But social media has allowed tribes to pile on even if they don't always subscribe to the ideals that they spout or put it in practice, let's say that. But that's actually normal. Everybody does that. This has put the current crop, the new fashion influencers, in a bit of a tight spot. For even the most responsible influencer has to thread that needle with carefully worded advice, as the slightest mention of fast fashion can immediately get you Call of Duty quick scoped by the community of fashion enthusiasts. For TikTok influencer Devin on Deck, this became all too apparent when on a post he suggested that trying cheaper fast fashion brands to test styles before buying more expensive sustainable pieces was a good strategy in developing a wardrobe. He was thusly bombarded with accusations of promoting fast fashion brands and completely taken out of context. Such is the nature of the internet. Given more nuance though, the tactic that he suggested is a good one if and only if shoppers are more responsible. The problem is the industry is powerful and uses image to make people irresponsible, particularly the more impressionable. In some cases, downright admitting that they prey on young people with something to prove in fashion. You don't believe that? Check this out. Deddy Schwartzberg, co-founder of hit fast fashion retailer Edikted, stated that Catching Gen Z's attention and money comes down to a simple formula. Whether those teens and early 20-somethings are in Toronto, Tampa, or Tel Aviv, all it's the same. Move fast, keep manufacturing costs low, and flood social media. The market is huge, he said, and so is the opportunity. For Gen Z, it's all the same motivation, the same language, the same behavior. All over the world, it's really the same client. So if you learn how to speak to one, you learn how to speak to another. Now, end quote. Let me just say that's a bold as hell statement, but the data does support what he said. His brand, Edikted, which he co-founded, was the top search fashion brand amongst Gen Z on Google in late September. And Edikted's TikTok videos received double the average video views of other apparel brands its size, according to social media management platform Hudson. But not many are pointing the finger directly at Edikted, and if they are, the company just doesn't care because they're making money hand over fist, and because naturally the finger will be pointed at the individuals who are far more accessible, the fashion influencers these companies use to promote these products. And this right here is where we get into how fast fashion effed up the fashion influencer, at least some of the newer ones. The industry gets a pass because it's easier to shame individuals and it's harder to blame big companies, and it's even harder to blame ourselves, right? Because guess what? You don't have to buy fast fashion brands, like at all. You just don't. I mean, this is all the more evidenced by the growth in vintage clothing sales. You could recycle or donate unused clothing, but that doesn't happen enough, as 1 in 2 people are more likely to just throw their clothes away than give it away. You could also be more discerning about where your clothes are manufactured, whether that's fast fashion or not, to ensure that you're not participating in environmental malpractice or human rights violations. Yes, we could ask influencers to be more responsible and discerning about the brands they promote. Sure, that is an option, but the money ultimately comes out of your pocket. I'm not saying that the practice of overproduction and how fast fashion operates isn't bad. I mean, it is in a ton of ways. But going after fashion influencers is a drop in the bucket unless you believe the power they wield is incredibly great. Now, this is a world where following what celebs are wearing and buying the cheap version of that is commonplace. A world where more and more people live vicariously through others in increasingly unhealthy ways. My personal take, don't do that. Just don't. I mean, like, by attacking fashion influencers, you're actively admitting that you're easily influenced and can't make responsible decisions. You're also you're admitting that those in your peer group aren't smart enough to understand to simply not buy crappy, trendy clothes. The question might get asked, have I bought fashion? Well, if you consider Uniqlo in that vein, then yeah, for like socks and hoodies, but I also recycle, wear my clothes for a good minute, and try my hardest to be a sustainable shopper, because the best way I can make a difference is by placing the responsibility solely on myself. Just saying, because supply and demand, if I don't buy from the brands, they will make less or they'll go bankrupt. You don't have to buy from them. But hey, this has been one-sided the entire way. And what we like to do on these F'd Up is give you a chance to voice your opinion. So let it all be known in the comments, and maybe, just maybe, we'll do something new. We'll choose your comment in a future episode to debate this very issue on how fast fashion F'd up fashion influencers, at least the new ones. Like, do you still think they should be held responsible, like more responsible, or do you think that we should concentrate on the bigger companies and just stop buying from them? Or anything else? The floor is open. State anything that you want. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion culture and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. I'll see you guys in a minute.